CBS
Whoa.
Oh, da 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 da.
Oh, look at that.
My God.
I have all this crap, okay?
Welcome, friends and fans, to another edition of GalaxyCon Live, where we are bringing the convention experience directly to you. And today, we are going back to Central City with 3 cast members from the 1990 Flash. And without further ado, let's jump on the cosmic treadmill and travel back to Earth 90 and see who we find. Our first guest is an actress and interior designer whose body of work includes Leviathan, The Kindred, and of course, Max Headroom. Today, she joins us to discuss the role of Star Lab scientist Dr. Christina McGee. Please welcome Amanda Pays.
Hello.
Hello! How are you?
I am fantastic. How are you?
Oh, I am doing well in my corner of the world. It's so glad to finally meet you. I've been a great admirer of your work for such a long time.
Oh,
and again, just real quick, Max Headroom. So far ahead of its
You
time.
weren't even alive then, though, were you?
Oh, yeah, I was. I certainly was.
Okay.
It was, again, touted as 20 minutes into the future. And I think at this point, Max Headroom is only about 8 minutes away from that future now.
That's right. That's right.
That's right, yeah. But again, a remarkable body of work. I'd love to get you and Matt on here sometime to talk about that as well.
Oh, well, where is Matt?
We had him on a few months ago for the Netflix show, and he looked well, doing well, and I had a chance to talk to him just a smidgen about that. But I'd love to have both of you on and talk about that. And again, other body of work you've done really well too, and you've been kicking it as well as an interior designer, correct?
I have. I've actually, yes, since had all those children and decided moving from acting into some other thing, that architecture design was my thing. And so, yeah, I've been flipping houses, doing interior design, moving a lot, but also now I've moved to the East Coast, really enjoying it. Very creative. It's just another creative kind of outlet, basically.
Absolutely. Well, so wonderful to have you here, and it's an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
And speaking of pleasures, our next guest is an actor whose body of work includes Dawson's Creek, Teen Wolf, and the audio drama Powderbirds. Today joins us to discuss the role of forensic scientist Barry Allen, aka The Flash, and possibly his misguided clone Pollux. Please welcome back one of GalaxyCon's favorite guests, John Wesley Shipp.
Hey, how are you, Patty?
Oh, so good to see you, John. How are you?
I'm great. Doing really well. We're having a big snowstorm. I'm on the East Coast too, like Amanda, so it's snowing all up and down.
And yeah, that's not just reflection. That's the actual snowstorm behind you.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh wow, it's gonna be really fun. I'm really excited about today because we could just talk about the first Flash series, and again, not to talk about the other incredible work, the times you come back as Henry Allen and Jay Garrick and your Flash, and well, the list goes on. There's a reason why I call you the Eternal Flash when I introduce you at our live shows. But I'm glad you and your own are doing well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Always. And finally, he is a writer, director, and producer across several mediums whose body of work includes The Sentinel, Viper, and The Rocketeer. His most recent film project, The Five Bloods, is directed by Spike Lee and currently streaming on Netflix. Today, he joins us as one of the creative architects of The Flash. Please welcome Danny Bilson.
Yay!
Yay!
Hello, everyone. Hello, Patty, Amanda, John, and we were talking earlier that I'm in LA, and I'm sitting in a house that Amanda flipped about 16 years ago in a basement that she designed once.
That's right.
So
But look at that Flash sign behind you.
Yes, well, that's a green screen.
Oh.
And you've turned it into a rather beautiful looking mini film screening room.
Yeah, it's a screening room now, a 15-seat theater. It has been for 15 years.
You made the allusion to Howard Hughes, and I wanted to ask. So does this mean you've been watching?
Without the jars, no jars.
Okay, but you've been watching Ice Station Zebra at least once a day, right?
No, actually not. No.
Oh, okay.
No.
I mean, it's a good movie. It's just not that good. But speaking of good movies, Danny, you and Paul are attached to so many fantastic properties over the years. I could spend so much time about Rocketeer. I really enjoyed your version of the Human Target. I thought it was a great translation of that character. And I will thank you, and I would thank Paul as well, for Eliminators, a movie I will defend to my last breath. The first time I hosted Denise Crosby, I brought it up, and she was so ecstatic that I knew about it, and we went down a wonderful rabbit hole about it for a few minutes, and she was equally proud of it. And again, thank you for a tremendous body of work.
Oh, well, that's nice of you. Thanks.
Well, it's my job, and thank you all again for joining us here today. Welcome to the GalaxyCon virtual stage. As always, we miss having you all here at our physical stages, and we look forward to the day when we can once again get you back in front of your fans. In the meantime, we have this online forum. Our team right now is going through the chat room, pulling out the questions. In the meantime, I'd love to just love for everybody to know, if they don't know already, how did this begin for each of you? And Danny, we will have to start with you and Paul. And how did you sell this to CBS?
Well, it's kind of a legend, and I won't take too long with it, but we wrote a different script first that was way, like if this Flash was ahead of its time, the first one was way ahead of its time. It was kind of Watchmen-like. Everybody, all superheroes had been in a detente with the Russians to disarm. All the superheroes had to be disarmed, and the Flash was the only one who refused, and he was frozen. He came back in his 40s and gathered up the Green Arrow's daughter, all these characters. It's one of my favorite scripts that Paul and I ever wrote, and it was for CBS. It was called Unlimited Powers, and they couldn't do it. It was just way too out there for them. It was very Watchmen inspired, and we're talking 1989. Okay, yeah. So the next year, they said, well, what about the Flash? Because the Flash was the lead in that one, and do something more traditional. And we were like, sure, and we just went at it. And that's the history of how we started on the Flash. There's a lot more stories, but there's a you know, I've got
that's great. I've heard a little bit about it. I'd heard you'd done a radically different project, but I didn't know it was that intense.
It's fantastic. I still love that thing, but not as much as this. I mean, this we made with human beings and had a year of one of the most intense years of my life.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, CBS, you know, they gave you the budget you needed to create this. But before we go into all the logistics, let's talk a little bit about some of these wonderful actors you brought on board. Amanda, how did this role come around for you?
I don't know if I can remember. I'd done obviously Max Headroom. Okay, so I'd moved to California, LA, and I was working on Max Headroom. That ended rather abruptly, which was, you know, sad, but it was a little ahead of its time because I was, you know, involved in ahead of its time stuff, it seemed like. And I think, Danny, did you see Max Headroom, or what was the kind of?
It had a lot to do with it. Max Headroom was a huge, because it was our culture, our audience. It was a huge thing for us, Max Headroom, as fans. We had also made a pilot with Peter Wag right after that, so we had a connection. So, and I can't remember if Saigon was before that Flash or not. I can't remember. Was it?
Yes, I think Saigon.
I think so. So that
was. Yeah,
that was done with Chris Crow, who was a friend of mine. So we knew, like, we were fans of yours. So it was. I guess there was a big audition process. That part I don't remember because we kind of targeted you.
I don't think I did audition. I don't think so. I auditioned. Wow, them days have gone.
Yeah.
But no, I was very excited when I got an offer, and I was very excited, and basically, just had the most amazing year. How much fun did we all have?
We lived through it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I have to explain something really quick for the fans of why it was so hard on them. It starts with, we didn't want to show the suit in the daytime.
Right.
And then it goes into, I'm going to do this quickly. Then it goes into TV production because it didn't look good in the daytime. Right. Then it goes into TV production. Mm-hmm. And now if you want to shoot at night and you don't have outdoor scenes, that means you're inside at night and everybody goes insane. So by Friday night, we could have 5 o'clock call inside Star Labs on a stage in a set from 5 p.m. to 6 a.m. the next morning. Oh. And then they would turn around on the weekend and we'd have them back at 7 a.m. Monday morning. So And we're not even talked about the suit because that's legendary with John and the trials and tribulations. But this piece of it is why when I bought this house for them 16 years ago, Corbin practically took me out to the woodshed. He was like, still upset about those Friday nights. And but it was really hard on everybody. But it was because we were young and all we cared about was the quality of what was on the screen. That's all we cared about. We really were like hard charging at, let's make this the best we can. We don't really watch current TV shows otherwise. We're trying to make a movie every week.
Yep.
And the performers had to keep up with that. And 2 units and stunts. And they take John and here. Oh, you think you have a break? Come over here. We got a camera over here with another crew. Because you can't make movies on a TV schedule without working twice as hard as everybody else, right?
And if you don't like that suit, John, here, we got another one. Try this one, okay? Put this on.
No, it was amazing. Our guest stars, by about the 3rd day into an episode, they'd be walking around like zombies going, you mean you do this every week? We're going to get T-shirts. I survived the Flash. Danny, you remember the episode where we actually went to a director's hotel and brought him to the set at 3 a.m. on a Saturday morning to start an episode?
Yes.
And he showed up and was like, are you guys nuts?
Oh, I never forget being woken up. I never forget being woken up in my trailer at like 4 a.m. to start a scene and just feeling like I just can't do it, you know.
No, having said that, it's the most exciting.
And look good. I mean, you guys have to look good.
And again, to the credit of you guys, that was. We don't have a lot of the computer effects, which can make a lot of shortcuts and stuff back then. That was meat and potatoes effects and real. Yeah, you guys were doing it.
Yeah, I said fun, but in fact, we might have been a bit miserable at times, right, John?
Yeah, well, except, you know, the bottom line is the memories I have of it, it's one of the most exciting times of my life. It was my first time primetime series. We were the biggest show on the back lot at Warner Brothers. At the time, it was the most expensive show Warner Brothers had ever done. And I had a parking space on the back lot at friggin' Warner Brothers. And they had just painted the water tower and renamed it Burbank Studios, Warner Brothers Studios. Yeah. And I'd come over Barham and I'd see that tower and I knew I had a parking space in it. You know, I still get goosebumps to this day. And I had no idea how it would roll out and be a thread that sort of has woven through my entire career. Danny, well, I would never have predicted that, right?
Well, how many one-year shows got this much love for 30 years? I mean, how many? I think Max Headroom's probably in that category somewhere. There's a few, but how many shows got this much love? And for Paul and I, it was very strange that The Rocketeer and The Flash were much bigger hits now than they were when we made them.
Isn't that amazing?
Hence no Rocketeer sequel, hence no season 2 of The Flash. And the most horrible thing of our career is no season 2 of The Flash creatively, because we were just figuring it out. Yeah. Right? We were just figuring it out creatively. Yeah. What I'm most proud of the show is how it's not like any other show, how it's wildly inventive, and I credit Howard Chaykin for a lot of that. You know, we had writers from comics. Howard wasn't just a comic book writer. Howard's a comic book voice with a very strong point of view. And I think he wrote 7 or 8 episodes. I don't know, but he was learning how to write TV we didn't have a writer's room, by the way. That wasn't how we did it back then. Yeah. It was, each one was a movie and we'd assign writers to it. And then Paul and I would rewrite everything. But and then we didn't take credit, Paul and I, because we felt that the people who were coming in for one show should have their full rights and their full salary, because we were privileged to have a series and be there every week. But anyway, I give Howard credit because the show is wildly inventive. And I will put this up against the current show, which is beloved, and I will say it's completely different. Yeah. The 1990 Flash is insane. I mean, we take risks that in 1990, we took risks that are edgy by today's standards, just in the absurdity of what some of the stuff we did.
Why was it too costly and too difficult? I mean, why did it end after a year?
It ended because they traded our 16 share show for a 17 share show because an executive's bonus was tied to share points.
Oh.
And what they gave up was the only young show on CBS at that time. And when we went, Paul and I've told this story a bunch, but when Paul and I went back to sell, because we were contracted at Warner Brothers and we would every year go out, when we went out to sell the next year, the executives, after that senior executive was gone, told us that story. That's how I know it.
Oh.
And they were like, you know, and The Flash 1990 is a very unique piece of work.
Yeah.
Because we weren't following any rules. That's why it was so hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a major stepping stone in just the development of the genre and advancing comic book to either cinematic or TV editions. I mean, you guys were very much a Rosetta Stone in that. Geek culture would not be the way it is today, I think, without the Flash and its contribution.
And
it really wouldn't.
Enthusiastic Danny is, and one thing that made those hours and that kind of work bearable was because you turn and Danny would be right there, you know, and you knew that Danny and Paul and everyone involved cared so much, and that as he said, their only priority was, we want to make an great hour of television a week, an hour movie a week, and the intensity of their caring and their knowledge of the pop cultural art form, which I didn't have, you know. Yeah, I mean, it sort of made you want to go and give it that extra push when you felt, maybe if I don't get out of this freaking suit, I'm gonna that was also a learning curve. Like, I think the first episode, not the pilot, we did all day shooting in the suit, and then like 2 a.m, pulled me out of the suit, and then we did Barry Allen scenes. Sometimes we go Flashberry, and then we finally worked it out. So look, if we can shoot all the Barry Allen scenes first and then go into because it had to be glued. That suit, unlike the suit today, had to be glued and removed, and you couldn't clean them, and they'd spray them with Lysol, you know. And then we go, if you have to, shoot Flash and then Barry, but please don't do Barry, Flash. Because they take it off with acetone, they put makeup on top, they put the, you know, everybody who's ever worn a superhero suit, and I say this all the time, nobody wants to hear us whine about, it was so difficult. Well, you could have avoided it by turning down the part, right? So it served its purpose. It was a great suit. It looked great. To this day, I still get people telling me how much they love the Flash 90s suit. So
what was the fabric? It had like a kind of a felty tone to it, like something, didn't it?
It was foam, and then they sprayed it with this like velour-like stuff that they would flocking, they called it, right? Yes. And they would spray it with this flocking, and God knows I wasn't around when they would touch it up. Thank God, I didn't want to see that either, you know, or any of that Lysol stuff. I did want to say that there was the team was really talented too, and some of these people went on. I mean, Don Kurt, who was the line producer, was an artist, and he went on to do Justified and major giant TV shows, including Amazing Stories on Apple last year. And Don he's a major talent as a producer, and even the hair department, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, Lana worked and kept them going, because we had to depend on what we call the snake pit, which is where the actors go, because you never know what's coming out in there and what they talk about. But we had to depend on her to keep them up. Look, this show was incredibly hard. That's what we've said 100 times over. And I think it shows on the screen. 5 years ago, we had a 25th anniversary, and John and I were at some theater in LA, and Mark Hamill was there, and we showed the 2 Trickster episodes. And it's kind of like, it's nuts what we did. On every angle. Some of the ideas were nuts, and the physical stuff was nuts. And you know, the water tour, I could tell story after story about what we put these guys through.
No, it was great.
All the characters, the characters were all, it was a carnival, you know, every week.
Yeah. But there was it always had that level of, okay, it's still believable. You didn't go like the full Adam West. There was still stuff going on, and there was still some legitimate, really good human drama. The character Emmett Walsh as Henry Allen and his arc with you, John, and the scene. I love the scene where Emmett finally breaks down. So, son, let's talk. I mean, that was a great scene, the two of you, and he played it so well. You guys just bounced off each other so well in that.
Yeah, I tell Grant Gustin that I gave him a lot easier time as Henry Allen than Emmett gave me.
Absolutely. And again, Alex, of course, was an absolute delight to watch as well. And how did you guys get Belzer?
Well, that goes to wow. Okay, so really quickly, our manager, Paul and I, is a guy named Joe Lauer, passed away last year, but he managed comics. And in 1987 or 88, we made a movie called The Wrong Guys with Belzer and a bunch of stand-up comics. Louis Anderson, Tim Thomerson, Franklin. Anyway, I don't have to talk about The Wrong Guys. But we knew Bells from The Wrong Guys. So we just always used our friends, man. If you track the Wilson DeMeo stuff, we tried to cast John as the Sentinel. I mean, everybody knows that we fought for John to be the Sentinel. Okay, it's so we always like working with the same people over the years. So Bells was our friend from The Wrong Guys. That's how he won.
All right.
I think it was his first series. The Flash was his first series.
Yeah, it was. It was. But he would do like little cameos if it's here. But yeah, I was like, hey, that's John Belzer. All right. So, well, thank you for hearing me. I think our audience is good to go on questions. So let's go ahead and roll our first one. And this comes from Robin, and they would like to know, who are the most interesting guest stars?
Well, we have to start with Mark Hamill.
Yeah, we have to start with Mark. Yeah.
You know, I was so self-conscious talking about how did I get involved with it. When the project was first mentioned to me, I was a little leery of it, you know, having come from New York and the way comic book characters have been spoofed. But I read the script, and, you know, Danny and Paul, this was a real guy. This was an unblessed son in a cop family where real cops work the streets. Suddenly I get this power, and I can't tell Dad. He would be so proud, you know. I could play all of that. But Mark, you know, was still stiff. I was very stiff. I didn't want to say any dialogue in the suit. I certainly didn't want to be any pictures taken of me with the cow back drinking a Diet Coke, you know, and eating munchies. You know, I was afraid of turning into a mascot. Well, here comes Mark, you know, no holds barred, working the unitard, you know, no self-conscious, total 100% commitment to the character. And it really helped me go, well, maybe I need to get over myself a little bit. And the scenes where he's mind controlling, I actually relaxed in the suit and allowed myself to have a little bit of fun. That goes to what Danny said. We were finally hitting our stride by the end of the season, you know, but you have to start there. But
we had David Cassidy,
Bryan Cranston, Michael Champion,
Angela Bassett.
Angela Bassett. I had Angela Bassett in my arms. Yeah, that was great.
Bryan Cranston.
Yes.
Yep. Who reminded me that he was on the show recently.
Another shout out. I have to give a shout out. There's a reason we had this great cast. April Webster.
Yeah.
Yes.
April Webster.
Totally. April. Oh. Yeah.
Who I believe cast JJ's Star Wars movies most recently. I mean, not most recently, but she did those. So April is a major talent as a casting director and is wonderful to cast with, engaged. I bet all actors have respect for her. I know you all did.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, she had said to me, I said, well, I just don't, you know, I love the 60s Batman series. I'd never miss it, but I just didn't think that spoof kind of comedy. And she said, John, just read the script. Just read it. That's all I ask. And of course, I started becoming, you know, this guy was not Hugh Hollywood hero. His first reaction to getting the powers is, I want to be rid of it. I was like, wow, I can relate to that. And Danny promising me they wouldn't put me in a pair of red tights. That was. So
you auditioned, John. Obviously, you auditioned for the role. Danny, did you know when you saw John's performance? This is the guy.
Well, it's a really weird story because we thought it was John and Richard Burgi.
Okay.
Right. And I'll be honest, we were like, Bergie was in first place and John was in second place. And the joke about this whole thing, and we brought Bergie in to do a couple episodes of the Deadly Nightshade. But then years later, when we did the Sentinel, we had the opposite. John was in first choice and Richard was second choice. And when I said we fought hard, we had already worked with John for a year. So we fought hard to get John on the Sentinel. I mean, he auditioned and everything. And that show went for 4 years afterwards. But then we had Richard, who we loved and had a wonderful time with. And ultimately, we had these two great TV actors who could play heroes and be people. Right? In 2 shows. And Amanda, I haven't got to talk about Amanda yet. Because, you know, I think what I remember, that thing about dragging you out at 4 a.m. And I said this isn't a sexist thing, but looking good when you get out at 4 a.m. to be bright and enthusiastic and awake. And I remember it was like torture for these people because they'd be asleep and we'd have to drag them out. And not playing a scene where it's supposed to be 10 a.m.
Right.
And, you know, and they'd be in there with the makeup and but we put Amanda through tons. And I noticed that in all the PR, they always use the shot from that Bad Tina. We call it
Bad Tina. We just the hair up and sort of sassy, like, you know,
that was great.
Yeah.
And that had a major Hollywood legend directed that episode. Bill Fraker.
Bullet. Yeah.
Bill Fraker, he shot Bullet. And he was a major cinematographer and then director in his later years. But that was just, what was that like working with Bill? I wasn't on the set that much.
It was incredible. You remember the day we were in Star Labs, and of course, you know, our cameramen, they would have these fabulous murals and these wonderful lighting effects up behind our heads. So the tendency would be to put the camera low to get all of that. Well, they'd end up shooting up our noses. And so Bill was like, raise the camera. And the guy was like, no, but we have all this behind it. He said, raise the camera to eye level. We're shooting people, not walls. I remember that.
Wow. I was too busy flirting with everyone. I don't remember that bit.
As far as guest stars goes, I was really taken with Jason Bernard as Nightshade. I love that character, the pulp hero who, just wonderful, and he was great.
Howard Chaykin, I have to say it. That was Howard.
I'm going to write some of these names down so I can talk to my son about all this stuff.
Well, if he wants an education in jazz music, follow him on Facebook, because every day he goes on about jazz and musicals.
Oh, okay.
Indeed. And Robin, thank you. That was a wonderful question to start us off with. What do we have next? And this comes from Jason. Ooh, did any of you keep anything from the set of The Flash? Uh-oh, he's reaching for something.
Oh,
nice.
Oh, God, John's gone to get something from his.
Oh,
okay.
Are these trigger events for you, Amanda?
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I have
this is Barry Allen's trench coat that I would show up in, and you know, scraped footprints and all of that. And I actually wore this in an episode of the CW Flash, and Andrew Kreisberg almost lost his mind. He thought it was so cool.
Oh my
I just kept it because John wanted to wear it. You know, that's why I kept it.
I love that.
No one offered me anything, so I just, you know.
I think I have your chair back.
God, I'm out of here.
No, I think that was meet. As I remember rightly, that last day, it was like, okay, you got my.
I can literally run to a closet down here and pull out your chair backs from.
Go get it. Go. I want you to go get it. Go on. Go on. Go on. Show me the chair back. John, what's with Andrew Kreisberg?
What do you mean? He was my related.
Is he still a part of the show or not?
He is not a part of the show. He was very, very important, along with David Nutter and Jeff Johns, and of course Greg Berlanti, with setting the tone of the show and shepherding us through that first season. Yeah, right. He's not there now.
Okay.
Boy, I've got some weird stuff here, you guys.
John, are you still doing the Flash?
Who, me? John?
Yeah.
Me? Yeah. I mean, yeah. Most recently, I was Flash 90. Wow. Back. They made a new version of the 1990 suit, and I was sacrificed in Crisis so that Grant Gustin's Flash didn't have to sacrifice.
Oh my God, 90s Flash! Wow.
Came back.
Yeah, that was amazing.
And he
remember this?
Oh yeah.
Oh yes. Yeah. Oh.
Well, sorry, my green screen's messing it up, but this is yellow actually. It was the people were wearing it in the crowd, like the extras were wearing it in the Trial of the Trickster episode, I think.
Oh God.
Anyway, enough of that. But I've got.
You've got it there. You still haven't found my chair name.
Yeah. Well, I actually. All my other shows are coming up, not the Flash. I'll just move past.
All right. Okay. Don't worry about it.
All right. That's fine.
Yeah. That's
Amanda,
here we go.
When John returned,
from the warehouse. Wait. Here it comes. Here it comes.
Whoa.
Oh, da 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 da.
Oh, look at that.
Oh my God.
I have all this crap, okay?
You and Mark Hamill save everything, right?
Yeah, well, Mark has both suits. He has a Flash suit and a Trickster suit.
He has my wings, I know.
Yeah, and I've got actually, I have those over here. I didn't bring those out. I've got the rubber thing that was stuck to the...
I wish I had thought to keep some of that stuff, but it just never occurred to me,
You know, I met Mark when I was about 18 in London when he was doing the first Star Wars. So I actually knew Mark. I'd known him for a long time, which was interesting to work with him after all those years. Yeah.
Yeah, when he came back to do the Trickster on the new show, he had a warehouse full of Trickster stuff, and they used the art direction that Danny and Paul and you guys had set for his lair.
Mark actually called me up and he said, "Are you okay with me doing this?" I said, "Of course." He was like that respectful of the character we created and everything. I said, "Of course." They never gave us an episode, though. I'm not going to go past this meeting without saying that. I mean, I tried every year, even before Paul died, for them to let us write an episode, but I couldn't do it. So we moved on to other things. We just keep writing features, or we did, and I am.
Absolutely. And
Jason, I didn't understand it. I got to say, I mean, I even went and had lunch with that whole writing staff. They're really nice, really great group, and had great. And I watched a ton of the show to prepare, but I don't know.
Who was saying no, though? I mean, who would not want you to do that?
Nobody was saying yes, so there we go. But
I talked to Andrew about it, and he had said, "Yeah, that would be a great idea." And
no, he told us we were going to, but then he was gone, and then the next guy became friendly with.
Gone, right? I don't think the Helbings were that maybe into the. I don't know the original.
Doesn't matter. We don't have to talk about it anymore. I just don't like it going by without it being mentioned because
we have a
fair.
I'm bitter about it.
We got renewed for season 8. There's still time.
Oh, John, you're so sweet. Forget it. It's not going to happen.
And when John did the Flash 90s exit, there's a nice flashback to the very first episode with you, Amanda. He had the flashback to the two of your characters, so it was a nice moment.
Didn't see that when Flash 90s sacrificed,
and they had established that your characters did eventually get married,
and then we got married, and they went back.
Who established? When was that?
The new CW show.
Oh.
And while I was running and dissolving to stop the treadmill, to stop the thing, it suddenly you heard, "I believe in you, Barry." And I said, "I believe in you, Tina." And then they cut to you saying, "I believe in you too, Barry." And that really put the heart in that moment.
Yeah. So they reused a shot of me without me knowing?
I'm sure you got paid. You got to check.
Yeah, I was about to say. I assume. I assume you got to check somewhere.
So after saying what I said before, let me say how much I love this stuff that they did with John on the thing and the Crisis stuff. I was just talking about not getting a job. On the other hand, did I enjoy what they did? Heck yeah. And they've honored the Flash 90 so much on that show. That's why I even had a reaction, right? It's like I know they respect the Flash 90 show. They've had both of you on the show, right? And they've had Vito, and I think Alex and Mark, and probably, you know, some extras we brought up there. I don't know, but they've been fantastic. They use the logos, all that stuff I was showing. They use the same ones now. So honored for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Jason, thank you. A wonderful question. And let's go ahead and roll another one. And this comes from Jen. Who was your favorite superhero when you were younger?
Well, I can go first. It's easier for me.
What is?
I don't know if you'll get this one. Herbie the Fat Fury. Absolutely.
I'll pop you with these lollipops.
Boom.
I'll tell you, you know what? It's my turn for show and tell. Okay, John, what was your favorite superhero? I'll be right back.
Well, you know, I didn't grow up reading, you know, comics. When they said, and this is the big outrage, when they said Flash to me, I said, you mean Flash Gordon? And of course, I act highly outraged now when someone says that to me after all these years. But, you know, other than really enjoying the Adam West Batman show.
Yes,
you know, when
I
was
would agree.
You know, I wasn't a faithful aficionado. That's why, thank God, Danny and Paul, they filled in all of that stuff. You know, I just took, and they said, did you go back and read the comics and study? I said, no, I took everything that I needed from their rich, layered, textured, human, adventurous, and fun script. That pilot was
the pilot was fantastic.
Well, they all were, but it was like, you know, it was so rich.
You know, the pilot's the only script that Paul
and I lay that at the feet of Danny and Paul.
That's the only script that Paul and I wrote from scratch. Everything else was a rewrite or managing other stories. We never had time to write an original script ourselves. The rest of the show, we rewrote everything, but that pilot's the only one that we wrote.
Yeah, it really stands out, that pilot.
In Star Wars, it was some big, long monologue I had of a confessional nature where it was very important, and I was trying to explain something to you, Amanda. And it just felt a little off. And I remember Danny was on set. I said, Danny, I don't think this is what he needs to say right here. And, you know, God bless you, Danny. He said, well, what do you think he needs to say? And I said, well, I don't know. I think something on the order of, you know, and I spun it out. He said, well, say that.
Yeah.
You know, to have that kind of support.
Well, John, like, you're always...
God, I have to remember what I just said.
You're good, John, at actually really understanding what, you know, your character feels comfortable and should, you know, how you would be wording something. You're very good with that. You're astute and kind of, I know that, you know, working with you, you were always on top of that stuff.
About these two, I think what's important is what they're saying. The fact that they weren't into comics and even much of this stuff is why it worked. I think, because they were just playing the human side,
right?
Like they were playing what we used to call a moonlighting relationship, right? They are really attracted to each other, but we're not going to let them get together or the show's over. That was like what we used to do back in those days. But most of what they were doing was that as subtext all the time, right?
Yes.
And then we didn't burden them with all this sci-fi crap. I mean, we took care of it in the script. They were all about the humanity.
Yeah.
And I think most of the Genovese, same, you know, most of them were about finding the humanity. They weren't even concerned with the sci-fi stuff.
And doing this job for a while, it's like often fans are a little more wiser, I think, than they are now. But you'll still get fans who just think that the actors were like in there in the writing room and in there in this and why this episode. And I'm always the first one to say, they're actors. They get the script and they hit the marks and they do it. And if we ever get the writers here, you can ask them that, you know.
Although I've been really, oh my goodness.
There's Urban Fury.
There's Herbie the Fat Fury. He is considered one of the most powerful comic book characters in comics, believe it or not.
Wow.
My favorite when I was a kid. The truth is, Paul was the one who was into superheroes. I was into weird stuff like that, Archie. I mean, I read all the humorous stuff.
Right.
And Paul was really a superhero person. And I caught up with him in the 80s when we were making B movies at Empire. The Golden Apple was around the corner. And that's when we got into The Rocketeer, American Flag, Dark Knight. The 80s comics is where I really engaged. And then that's what brought The Flash. The Flash was totally an outgrowth of those books and the Batman movie that Burton did, because he was able to start to bring that more mature comic stuff to the screen. And that's, again, why it was at night also, for that vibe.
Yeah.
Danny, did you know that in the CW Flash pilot, when we're in the Allen home, they had your comic book that you guys were writing on the coffee table?
No.
In the Allen's home. Yeah, they had.
Oh, that's a trip.
Oh, in the new series.
Yeah, in the new series.
Oh, I was in that one of those scenes.
Yeah.
Really?
Was I? Yes, I was.
Remember the scene that we got to shoot where we were sitting in front of the monitors?
Yes.
It was flirty and it was funny and it was arch and it was really a cute scene. It did not move the plot forward.
No.
Our episodes were always over. And I said to you at the time, I said, I vote this scene most likely to be cut because it didn't move. It was just flirtation. But I wish I had those dailies. I'd love to see that scene, you know?
I know.
Indeed. Jen, thank you. That was an absolutely wonderful question. And GalaxyCon viewers, this has been my time with the cast of The Flash. Gentlemen and lady, this has been wonderful. Any final words for our audience before we go?
I don't want to go. I don't want to leave you two. Oh
I know.
God.
Can we continue? Can we just continue chatting?
Oh, we can go. We'll go backstage. We'll talk. But yeah. But any final words for our audience?
Oh, we just love being here. We've had a lot of fun. Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. And thanks for the support. You know, as Danny said, the fact that when it came out on DVD in 2006, it had a whole new life. I'm still amazed and humbled that one, as Danny said, one season of a show that we all did 30 years ago now still has so much love and resonance with the audience. I'm incredibly grateful. And I'm incredibly grateful to Danny because clearly Danny and Paul put me on a trajectory that has been more than I was sort of like Amanda, get me out of this friggin' suit. It's like, this has been the hardest thing I've ever done. And had no
17-hour days, day in, day out.
that it would, you know, continue and grow and have all throughout be a defining characteristic of my career. So Danny, thank you.
You know, I pitched them, give us one episode where Grant goes to Earth 90 and has to activate the old gang to solve an Earth 90 problem. Then he could just go out and it wouldn't interrupt their timeline. I am a writer, you know. So, but I couldn't.
See, for the 30th anniversary of our show, because I've had audience members writing me on Twitter and everything saying, why don't you do a standalone episode, Flash 90?
There, I just pitched it again. Okay? I just pitched it again.
There it is. There it is.
I'll write it. Or you can write it if I can't write it, but just do it.
Yeah. Danny, before we go, tell us a little bit, in case our audience doesn't know, about The True Bloods, because it's Five Bloods. I'm sorry.
What's it called?
Five Bloods.
Five Bloods.
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Okay, I'm gonna check it out.
It's Spike Lee's current joint, and Paul and I wrote the script, which was called The Last Tour at the time, about 3 white and 1 black veteran going into the jungle, and Spike and Kevin Wilmot rewrote it and made them all black and did something brilliant with it and elevated. I mean, it was the best script we ever wrote. It wasn't like, you know, people think Bilson DeMeo, the Rocketeer, was it some cheesy thing? No, it was actually a very dramatic script about veterans based on the guys we went to college with, because we went to college with a bunch of Vietnam vets. And Spike and Kevin did a wonderful job, and Spike has been just a great friend to Paul and I, and to me currently, as we are now in this crazy world I've never been in, tracking all these award shows and how does it all the metrics. It's a whole subculture, like soap operas or something. But I'd never been in it before, and I'm enjoying it. And it's a great tribute to Paul. We couldn't have done better on his way out. So that it means a lot. It means a lot. And I also love the film and what the film has to say. It always had a lot to say. Spike and Kevin added another layer that's just timely and fabulous. But very proud of it. And
so is it on the Oscar track right now?
Oh yeah, we just got 3 SAG nominations.
Oh great!
We got ensemble. Chadwick Boseman is supporting, and
wow.
But Delroy didn't get nominated, which is a head scratcher because he was really brilliant in the film. But that's just, I think Critics' Choice are Monday. I have a whole schedule. It's really fun. I'm enjoying being a part of this, and thank you, Spike Lee, for including Paul and I.
Oh, well done.
Fun. And it's great for Paul's family too. I mean, I'll just say that. I know this is public, but it's a great tribute to Paul.
Outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. It has been my absolute pleasure to serve you all today. Once again, thank you for joining us on the GalaxyCon virtual stage. Thank you to our audience for joining us today, and thank you for all your great questions. Hope to see you all again soon. Until then, bye-bye, everyone. Take care, and please keep washing those hands.